Good evening. You are tuned to KGVM Bozeman. We are Gallatin Valley Community Radio at 95.9 on the FM dial or kgvm.org online. It is time tonight for the local musician spotlight. We are here in the Tune Factory with Trygh.
Nice. One
to thank you guys for coming in tonight. I have to admit that when I saw the note on the calendar, it was like Jelani and Trygh, and I was like, who's Trygh? I'm not sure if I know who that is. So thanks for coming in. I wonder if you wanted to introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Lauren Block. Our group is just bass and percussion, so I'm the bass player.
And I'm Jelani Mahiri, and I'm the percussion player.
So where did the name come from?
It's Cornish. It means victorious or like supreme in Cornish.
Nice.
So I was when we first started the project, I was learning a lot of Cornish folk songs, and we kind of expanded to include lots of different cultural music. But that's one of the original things we were working on.
Cool. How long has this project been a going concern?
At least a year now. Yeah. So we started about last year, October, so it's pretty much 1 year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you guys played together in other bands, other situations before?
Yeah, in town here, we were together in Dub Sultan when that was a band, and how many other different bands?
Quite a few.
In?
So we started with Dub Sultan. That was my first time playing out in public, and that was back in 2012. So we've been playing together about 10 and a half years, off and on. We played with the Molotov Quintet, and we've played in... What else? Oh, we did, he sat in with Permafunk a couple times.
Mozambique.
Mozambique is the other one that we played in together for a while, so, yep.
Kind of often in and out and weaving together through all of the bands.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, Dub Sultan. I was just not too long ago listening to them. Every once in a while I end up throwing one on the radio. So I really liked that album. It was a lot of fun.
I think it's a really fun album. I didn't play on the album, but it's still one of my favorite locally produced albums for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was kind of wondering, is the music that you do stuff that you've written?
Yeah, we do some covers, but most of the songs are songs that I've written or Jelani has written. Some of the songs that I write, I will borrow folk melodies. So some of it's like traditional stuff mixed in, or like it would be something I would start with. So it's incorporated into the song. So that makes it sort of a cover.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know I'm sure there are legal rules, and then there are probably accepted norms and stuff. So I think there's some sort of statute of limitations where you don't have to say it's a cover anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 75 years, I think.
There
right?
you go.
80.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 90
some
now.
Some kind of copyright thing. Yeah. But it's a really cool mixture, and we'll get to hear a little bit more now with a little bit different percussive sound. So I wonder if you guys want to play a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last song was called La Fountain. That's one that Lauren wrote pretty recently. He may have a little bit more background for it, but...
Yeah, that was one where I was recently in Norway, and I borrowed a folk melody that I saw somebody performing with a folk group and kind of turned that into that piece. And then the one we're playing next is more of a Latin sound.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Painkiller, right? Okay.
All right. As someone who can barely spell conga, I'm always amazed at the variety of sounds and the textures of sound that you can make with them.
Yeah, that's what keeps me playing.
Yeah.
And you can keep adding more, right? So let me just add one more tone in there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's surprising, I guess, to me, just all of the different tones that you can get just with really the way you hit the top of it and where you put your hand.
Yeah. Same still for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's many players out there who I'm still amazed at what they do, and probably always will be amazed, which is, one of the beautiful things about music, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I guess really every instrument, I think, probably.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you even if you understand it stuff, there's still just different people will just pull something off. It's like, wow,
Exactly.
how did they do that?
How do they even imagine that?
Right.
But once you see it, then you're like, okay, I can try it.
Yeah, may not get there, but get closer.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I think sometimes the more you play, the more you notice the nuances that you weren't picking up before of the really good players, and you're like, oh, I thought what they were doing was simpler, but now that I know better, you learn all the little subtle techniques, and
you start, for the uninitiated out among us, it's like, oh yeah, that's a bass
good.
line, or
Yeah,
that's a percussion line. It's like, yeah, oh wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I was kind of curious when you're writing, Jelani.
Mm-hmm.
How do you write the melody for a song?
So we'll play one song a little later, but the songs that so we have a couple songs that we start jamming and then we work out things, so I don't have to think about melody, which is helpful. But the songs for some of them I sing, so songs that I have words for are a little bit easier for me to think about melody, or I can start with melody and then just figure out other stuff later. But if I start with chords, then I feel trapped by the chord box. I'm like, but that's because I'm not, I don't have training. I have training self-training primarily on congas, right? So YouTube, thank you, YouTube. Okay, now I can learn and listening to a lot of music. But in terms of composing songs, I have to sing them into my phone voice recorder, and then go later and play it out on a piano, and then write notes.
Yeah.
And then figure it out. So that's kind of how I do it.
So it's kind of voice and piano, or
are the main instruments for
composition tools.
Yep.
Hey, well, do you want to do River Walk right now?
Oh, sure.
Let's go ahead and do
Okay, I guess we'll do that one now.
Cool. Yeah.
This is one that I wrote for. I guess I have to switch seats subtly, but I wrote it actually for Callie Miller, who's a daughter of, Callie Lennox, who's a daughter of Annie Lennox, and I love Sweet Dreams. But she had a river accident, which I will go into too much detail. So this song was kind of a song written initially in Portuguese, but you won't be able to hear the Portuguese.
So I transcribed to bass.
The bass, the melody.
Vocal.
Yeah, and it just basically is a lament, if you will, in the version of a Brazilian or a Northeast Brazilian samba de roda, or a kind of a rural samba, and it just asks my Oshun. Oshun is a goddess of rivers and beauty, but it asks, what happened to my love, because, the river took her love away. So that's the kind of chorus part. And then the lyrics just talk about the day and what happened. So that's the idea behind it.
As you're switching over, the cajon is another instrument that I find fascinating as well.
We'll get to that one next.
Yeah.
This next one is written in an ancient Chinese scale that I was playing around with. The scale is called gong.
It always amazes me how exotic those Oriental rhythms seem to me. I think to a lot of us. I was thinking while you guys were playing that, and just like this mix of different places you get inspiration and rhythms and melody and stuff, and it's like world music. And then I thought, how American centric is it that we call everything that's not, and even calling some of the things that we call American music are really not, but that we just lump everything else into this bucket we call world music.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that the other day because we didn't know. We're trying to figure out the best way to explain our music or what genre to tell people we are. But yeah, world music is not a very good description of anything.
Yeah, we're somewhere in there. Experimental, jazz, folk, world.
Yeah.
Instrumental. I think partly once you have instrumental music, I think there's obviously enjoyment, but how do you give it a title? How do you help it stick in terms of, I want to hear X song, whereas,
right.
If the lyrics say, whatever they say, I love you, then you're like, that's I love you song. But when there's no lyrics, then how do you keep a title and have it stick? And then how do you describe the music to people? And they're like, well, we just get together and play music, and this is kind of what comes out.
This is what it is.
This is where we are today. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I've always wondered that, like, for instrumental songs, I just have this, like, mental block. It's like, how would you pick a title? And, and how do you, I think it's important, like you said, that's the thing that you get to kind of associate that thing if you're going to go look for it or look for it again or something or remember it. So, yeah, it's I think that's a pretty important component. It just seems kind of mysterious to me how you would go about doing that.
You make up names until something sticks. Yeah. I haven't thought about it until now in this way, but maybe it's like kind of trying to name your child, like you find some names that hopefully give it some kind of future. And some names that other kids won't make too much fun of. That attach it to the family in some way. But yeah, with instrumental songs especially, unless you already have a theme for the music that you're thinking of, then but we figured out some fun names, so I think somehow it works.
It's working. Yeah.
I do a lot of naming the song after the place I'm at. If I'm somewhere outside of Bozeman when I write it, it's a pretty easy way, and also a way for me to remember the song.
That association. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're writing an instrumental song, is there a story that you kind of have that you're following sometimes or most of the time, or is it just a little more abstract than that?
As far as structure, like verse chorus thing, I think about it. Obviously, you have a lot of freedom when you're writing instrumental stuff, but I want to avoid just stacking random things together and having that be a song, because lyrics, in a lot of cases, are what bring all the elements of the music together and make it one cohesive piece. So what I focus on is using little motifs throughout the song. So if there's a part that doesn't use the same motif, then it doesn't belong in the song.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I don't really have a lot of structure. I try to focus on melodies, but I don't really have verse chorus stuff thought out. There's just different parts. One structure I like is the Russian doll structure, where you have a part at the beginning and the end, and then a part that's the second part and the second to end part. Yeah. That's an easy way for me to kind of structure things and work those motifs up to something that I think is a strong melody, and then back
down.
Yeah, I'm less skilled in terms of the structure of things, so I start in different places, either rhythmically or I'll have a bass line in my head, which again I have to work through the keyboard to play, and then I have to figure out everything else. And once you start to create even a melody, even if it's a bass melody, it starts to define some parameters for what can happen next, or at least give some direction.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the names, but none of these songs, but a song I wrote called, it was something about cafe, or it was like cha latte was the name, right? So it's supposed to be like cha cha. So when I first constructed it, it didn't have the cha cha part. So I had to add that to the end because it wasn't complete without that part. So the name gave it some structure too. So
yeah,
at least what I wanted to do. I don't know how great a song it is, but at least that's it forced something in there for me. So.
Yeah, it's I mean, not that I understand how you would write a song with lyrics either, but instrumental songs are even like the next step up in wonderment for me.
Yeah.
But,
anything that has a strong melody, if it has a strong melody,
Mm-hmm.
it holds together. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, if you are just tuning in, this is the Local Musician Spotlight here on KGVM Bozeman. We're in the Tune Factory here with Trygh, and I want to take a second to thank, as always, Pat Loken for doing all the work here, providing this space, the Loken Production Studios, alternately, a.k.a. the Pat Cave, for those of you that are in the know.
Oh, nice.
And always helping out. And when Pat's not around here, you can often find him down at the filling station doing shows, and I think there are a couple coming up on Friday night. Some more congas. I think El Wencho and Matthias are going to be down at the filler. And then Saturday night, there will be a little punk. I think that Goners are going to be down there, and a couple other bands with them.
Decibel Nest. And,
Decibel Nest and Zach Peabody. And I haven't seen Decibel Nest or Zach Peabody, so it'll be an experiment. But, I'm sure the Goners will get a little loud, but yeah, Friday night there'll be a different set of congas. And,
cool.
So,
and I think Thursday is that the reggae band? Is it tomorrow?
Roots Within.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what I'm excited about. That.
Yeah. So, cool. Well, yeah, you guys want to?
All right, this is the part of the set where my fingers get a workout.
Okay.
Yeah, this is here's a cover song for you.
Cool.
All right, now it's the part where we get out the big drum.
Ah. It's sizable.
It is sizable, yeah. Yeah, this comes from the northern part of Brazil. You've probably heard of the term pandeiro if you listen to Brazilian samba music or maybe bossa nova, and it's a smaller frame drum, kind of like a tambourine, but they play it, it's jingles and everything. But this one is called a pandeirão, which means a big pandeiro, right? Which is just a big frame drum. And it comes, this one's from a festival out of the state of Maranhão in Brazil. And the festival translates to the ox dance or the Bumba Meu Boy. And so a lot of the groups will play these drums as the bass drums for the percussion ensembles. Other groups have different drums too, but a couple of different styles will use these drums. So a little bit easier to travel if you're, trying to get some bass as opposed to carrying a big double-headed drum or something like that. So, but not so easy to play because you got to hold it up the whole time. So, and playing a couple songs that we actually use it on, I'm like, I don't know how they play for hours and hours holding this drum up, but I guess it's, practice, right? Yeah. So, but this is a song that Lauren wrote.
It's actually more of a Nordic sounding song from the melody, so it's kind of a combination of the Scandinavian sound with the Brazilian percussion. Cool.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, man, that's a big boron. But I guess it's a different thing.
Slightly different.
It might be a little easier to play for a longer period of time if it did have that cross brace handle in the back.
Yeah, the cross brace. Yeah, it's kind of nice.
It probably would sound
They
quite
sound
a
a
bit
little different. I do. I think I have a Bowron too and a couple other drums. Once people know you like something and they just, keep finding, they're like, oh, you probably like this. And I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you. I don't want to turn the faucet off, right, so to speak. But so I have one, and I've tried it out. I have another drum that's made in the Middle East. I'm not sure quite where, maybe Oman. And it's a series that slightly smaller, but they use a different skin. I think this is probably either a goat. I'm not sure because I bought this one online, or it could also be from the ox, the buffalo hide that they have in that part of Brazil. Whereas that one is most likely goat, but it's skin tighter, so the sound is a little bit tinnier, a little bit more towards a Middle Eastern style, like doumbek or other types of Middle Eastern instruments. So, but yeah, I just keep collecting them, and each song, when you're playing percussion and you don't have a lot of flexibility with tone, then you go, oh, okay, this drum's slightly smaller, so we'll get a different tone out of this. So
Yeah.
All right, well, here's another cover song.
All right. Well, I meant to say my ears saluted your fingers for that tapping number. That was looked like a pretty good workout.
Yes.
Well, do you guys have any recorded music?
We do. I have a couple things up on Spotify that's just solo bass stuff, and then we're working on getting some recordings out together. But if you go to Trygh, trygh.com, it links to our Spotify and some videos and stuff that we have up.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming into the studio tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I think we don't often have instrumental stuff, and this is, I'm pretty sure, the first time for just bass and percussion. And it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
If people didn't catch the whole thing, or they want to hear it again, and I mean, really, they do.
Yes.
They just need to admit it to themselves. Or if you know somebody else who'd like to hear it, we will broadcast it again on KGVM Saturday at 6 p.m., and you can always go to the Loken Productions YouTube channel. Okay. You can watch it anytime. My spiritual advisors assure me that if you click the subscribe button, it's good for good karma, and who doesn't need some good karma? So
yes.
we want to ask you to keep it tuned right here to KGVM and, get out and about, check out some local music. I know I see Jelani out at shows quite a bit.
Oh, yes, I love
So,
it. It's awesome right now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And support your local musicians.
For
and,
sure.
People like this have to work at it, and it's not it's a labor of love, but they could use a little bit of support. So, so keep it tuned right here to KGVM. And again, thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
hopefully,
thanks.
if you get some recordings put together, people will check them out, take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of if they're available on Bandcamp, people can actually purchase the music instead of renting it. I'm a big proponent of that. So.
Yeah, I like to use. We use Bandcamp a lot for lots of our projects.
Nice. All right. Well, hope everybody enjoyed this, and I hope that you will stay tuned to KGVM and have a great evening, everyone.